What's going on, everybody? Sports culture, and today I got a 7-round mock draft for the Green Bay Packers. And man, we're less than a week away from the NFL draft. I'm super excited to make this mock draft right here. This team has Super Bowl aspirations, and if we could go, in real life, go to the NFL draft, get some rookies that can make some instant impacts, I have no doubt in my mind that this team should be hosting the Lombardi Trophy next year in New Orleans. So without further ado, let's get right into this. So here we are, pick 25, and man, there's a bunch of good players on the board. Cooper DeJean, Layatu Latu, Jerjon Nguyen, Nate Wiggins, Kool McKinstry, Jackson Powers Johnson, Peyton Wilson, Tyler Nubin. So there is a lot of good players. With this pick, though, pick 25, man, I'm really stuck with one of these guys. I really want to go Jerjon Nguyen and just, try to trade back up and get Cooper DeJean, Nate Wiggins, or Kool McKinstry. But I think with this pick, I'm going to switch it up, actually, and I'm going to go Nate Wiggins right here. And I know Nate Wiggins, I've yet to draft him in any of my mock drafts, but I think this guy, Nate Wiggins, has a legitimate chance to be the best coverage cornerback from this year's draft class. He has the height and the length you want from a cornerback. Is undersized, I will admit. It doesn't have the weight you want from a cornerback, but he has all the recovery speed in the world, is very athletic, plays the ball very well, has tremendous technique, very patient and disciplined in man coverage, and I just think he has a legitimate good chance to be the best coverage cornerback from this year's draft class. Nate Wiggins is listed at 6'2", 185 pounds, and is 21 years old. Like I said, a little bit undersized in terms of weight, but this man is only 21 years old. He has so much time to develop, and he's going to get better over time. Now, as it says right here, Wiggins has the tools of a first-round high-impact cornerback. His athleticism will never be in question, nor will his competitiveness. These two characteristics should yield a long-term starting player. Now, here are the pros and cons for Nate Wiggins. Rare athleticism, smooth yet explosive, elite recovery speed, really good arm length to hand-fight press and disrupt the catch point, very quick and fluid hips, feet are light, quick, and balanced, equally as confident in man or zone, competitive player who does not back down. And then these are the cons for Nate Wiggins, the more just about his build and his slender build. Slender build shows up in run defense, though he did improve there in 2023. Lack of weight allows offensive players to push him around, especially in the run game. And another thing I will add right here, more physical, more dominant, wide receivers that are bigger are able to push him around, during press. Now, Nate Wiggins this year had an 83.9 coverage grade, had a 65.4 run defense grade, had a 43.9 completion percentage, had a 78.5 man coverage grade, and had a 74.0 zone coverage grade. Nate Wiggins this year allowed 18 receptions on 41 targets, 176 yards, 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions, and a passer rating of 44.4. Nate Wiggins also this year had 7 forced completions, 0 dropped interceptions, 8 coverage stops, 4 missed tackles, and an average depth of target of 14.4. Now, Nate Wiggins gets drafted 10% by Packers fans whenever they make mock drafts. But for this mock draft, we are continuing that trend. And like I said, I think this guy has a really good chance to be the best coverage cornerback from this year's draft class. He has the length and the measurements you want from a cornerback. Yes, he is undersized in terms of weight, but honestly, on film, he's someone that's not afraid to come downhill and make tackles in open space. He doesn't make all the tackles because he's undersized and he's not able to really block shed like that, but he's not someone that's afraid to come downhill and make tackles. So like I said, I picked 25. We are going to go Nate Wiggins, and I've yet to draft Nate Wiggins in any of my mock drafts. But for this mock draft, we are going to draft Nate Wiggins. And I think this guy has a legitimate good chance to be the best coverage cornerback from this year's draft class. He has elite recovery speed, tremendous technique, and he just plays the football very well when it's in the air. So with this pick, I picked 25. We are going Nate Wiggins, and we're hoping Jerjon Nguyen or Layatu Latu falls to us, or even Jackson Powers Johnson falls to the second round, and we could trade up and go get one of those guys. So here we are, picked 41, and we didn't have to trade up or do anything like that. Jackson Powers Johnson fell right to us at pick 41. And I'm not going to say this is a realistic thing that could happen in real life, but there is a lot of talks in the NFL world by NFL scouts and just people by NFL teams that they're not that high on Jackson Powers Johnson like the outside media is, like people like me. And I think Jackson Powers Johnson is actually a beast. I think he's going to be a very good center. I think he has all pro qualities, but there is a lot of talks by NFL scouts and just NFL people in general that they're not that high on Jackson Powers Johnson. Now, saying all that, I think this is insane value. I think Jackson Powers Johnson is easily the best center in this year's draft class, and he has the versatility to play the guard position as well. And getting him at pick 41, even though he gets drafted around picks 27, 28, is phenomenal value. Jackson Powers Johnson is listed at 6'3", 220 pounds, and is only 21 years old, which is my favorite thing about him. Super young, has a lot of time to develop. And let's say we don't even start him this year, and we let Josh Myers, play a full year at the center position and see what we have in Josh Myers for another year. Jackson Powers Johnson has a full year to fully develop, and he'd only be 22 years old, 23 years old by then. And this is a guy, like I said, that has the versatility to not only play the center position, but to play the guard position as well. And as it says right here, there aren't many holes in Powers Johnson's game, especially since he moved to center. He has complete positional versatility along the interior offensive line. And as it says right here, Powers Johnson possesses starting caliber power and finesse traits at the center or guard for both zone or man gap blocking concepts. He is dominant enough at his position to be considered a top 20 talent. And if he's considered a top 20 talent and we got him at pick 41, that is insane value. Now, here are the pros and cons for Jackson Powers Johnson. A big-time people mover in the run game. Like I said, this guy is a molar. Very, very physical. I love his demeanor that he plays with at the center position. He's very physical, and also he's very athletic. And as it says right here, big chest and midsection help generate a ton of upper body strength. A dense player who can anchor quickly and effectively. Destroyer of worlds type of mentality. Like I said, I love this guy's mentality. Very good grip strength to toss defenders to the side. He's very athletic and very physical. And then the cons for Jackson Powers Johnson, short arms, even for an interior player. And then this year, Jackson Powers Johnson had an 85.6 run block grade, had a 90.6 pass block grade, had an 83.8 zone grade, had a 70.2 gap grade, and had an 87.1 true pass set pass block grade. Now, Powers Johnson this year played in 13 games, had 829 offensive snaps, 332 run block snaps, 492 pass block snaps, allowed 0 sacks, 0 hits, and 1 hurry. So that is very, very elite. Now, Jackson Powers Johnson this year had 829 snaps at the center position, but in 2022, he played 350 snaps at the right guard position. And I just think because of this guy's athleticism, his football IQ, his demeanor, the physicality he plays with, he's more than versatile at the next level to play the guard position or the center position. So at pick 41, like I said, we are going Jackson Powers Johnson, and this is just great value. He fell right to our laps at pick 41. Didn't have to trade up or do anything like that. I still think he's the best center in this year's draft class, and I still think it isn't a bad idea to get center. Josh Myers is very inconsistent on a play-to-play basis. Let's just say for another year we roll with Josh Myers. We could throw Jackson Powers Johnson at right guard and let him compete with Sean Ryan for that starting position. So with this pick at pick 41, we're going Jackson Powers Johnson, the center out of Oregon, and this is just insane value at pick 41. So here we are at pick 58, and there's a lot of great players on the board. Javon Bullard went right before us at pick 57, so I do want to get a safety, so you might have to look somewhere else. Chris Jenkins is on the board. Jaden Hicks, the box safety out of Washington State, who I know a lot, and a lot of Packer fans really do like. I think he's a very solid safety. I do think he lacks in speed, and that's what kind of makes me draw away from him. I don't like his speed at all. Down, in a straight line, he has phenomenal speed. He's very quick, but solid on the sideline, making those abrupt angles that safeties have to do, going against some of the best running backs in the NFL. These guys are so quick, in the middle of the field and so elusive. You got to make those quick angles, and I don't think Jaden Hicks is able to do that. I do think when he's in the box, though, and he keeps the play in front of him, he's a phenomenal safety and a really good box safety. In coverage, though, I do worry about him. Kaiwan Amagaji's here. He's one of my favorite tackles / guards in this NFL draft. A phenomenal, and a phenomenal run blocker. Very, very physical. I love his demeanor. And then Edgerrin Cooper is also on the board, my favorite linebacker in this year's draft class. But I think with this pick, I'm going to switch it up. I know I just kind of raved about Jaden Hicks, but I think I am going to go Jaden Hicks. I love what he does in the box. Like I said, I don't like what he does particularly in coverage, and I don't think his speed's that great. But if we could keep the play in front of him and keep him in the box, I think he's going to be a phenomenal safety at the next level. I think of him like Jamal Adams, just better overall in coverage and just more athletic. Now, Jaden Hicks is listed at 6'3", 212 pounds, and 21 years old. Like I said, he has a lot of time to develop. He is only 21 years old. He's very, very young. And as it says right here, Hicks is a well-built, strong safety who can play at all 3 levels of the field. He's a tone-setting tackler and has the starting potential in a 2-safety system, especially as a strong safety or robber over the middle. And as it says right here, Hicks demonstrates tone-settling tackling. His cornerback background gives him a good baseline for slot man coverage assignments. He still lacks long speed and twitch, but when he can keep things in front of him, he has a good speed to make plays downhill. Now, here are the pros and cons for Jaden Hicks. Solid tackler, consistent pre-snap communication, adequate linear athlete in split safety roles, a viable slot player, especially against tight ends, good eyes for robber coverage roles, comfortable and capable when playing at the linebacker level. And then here are the cons for Jaden Hicks as a safety. Man coverage ability is there in flashes, but it is inconsistent. Straight line speed is good, but not great. Could be a bit over-aggressive in pursuit angles. And then Jaden Hicks this year had an 84.9 coverage grade, had a 65.3 run defense grade, but I do feel like he's way better than that 65.3 run defense grade. Had a 14.7 missed tackle rate, had a 12.9 forced incompletion rate, and had an average depth of run tackle of 4.6. Now, Jaden Hicks this year had a 77.7 PFF grade, played in 12 games, had 788 defensive snaps, 22 pass rush snaps, 339 run defense snaps, 427 coverage snaps, 64 tackles, 17 assisted tackles, and 14 missed. Jaden Hicks this year also had 10 coverage stops, 24 run stops, 20 receptions on 31 targets, a 73.3 passer rating allowed, 2 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, and 4 forced incompletions. Now, Jaden Hicks did play a lot of his snaps this year at the box, 456 snaps in the box, and that's why I think at the NFL level he would be really good at. He does have that versatility to play out the slot, but I just don't like his speed. I think his man coverage abilities, like I said earlier, is very inconsistent. Now, Jaden Hicks gets drafted 45% by Packers fans whenever they make mock drafts. So for this mock draft, we are continuing the trend, and this is the guy a lot of Packer fans really, and I mean really do want. He does bring that physicality we have been lacking in the middle of the field for some time. He is a very physical player. I love his demeanor. I just don't like his speed, and I just don't like his coverage abilities, but I think at the next level, he could be developed in those aspects. So I traded up with the Las Vegas Raiders, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. I tried finessing these guys so super hard, but they did not budge. Gave away picks 88, 169, and 202. In return, we got picks 77 and 229. So with this pick, the last linebacker that went at pick 70, I believe, or 69 was Edgerrin Cooper. So with this pick, we need to go linebacker. And Junior Colson, to me, is honestly becoming my second favorite linebacker in this year's draft class. I feel like this guy is easily the most instinctive linebacker in this year's draft class, and he's very good at pass coverage and very good at stopping the run. Now, Junior Colson is listed at 6'3", 247 pounds, and is only 21 years old. Super young, and this guy is very smart. He has phenomenal football IQ, and his instinctive ability as a linebacker is phenomenal. And as it says right here, Colson's background and journey to this point are inspiring. He has the size and football IQ to play in the NFL. He is a good but not great athlete, which will likely make him a day 2 pick as a rotational 4-3 linebacker with starting potential. Now, here are the pros and cons for Junior Colson. Willing to be physical to take on blocks. Good feel for hook/curl and Tampa's drop zone responsibilities. Keeps his shoulders square and shifts through the chaos and run defense. Doesn't run himself out of position versus play action and pre-snap motion, which is one of my favorite things about him. Good pre-snap recognition and communication. Now, here are the cons for Junior Colson. Good but not great athlete. A bit too tight to change direction. Hips are tight. Decent at getting off blocks but can struggle. And Junior Colson this year had a 60.7 pass rush grade, had an 80.0 run defense grade, had an 83.4 coverage grade, had an average depth of run tackle of 4.1, and had a missed tackle rate of 4.7, which is very elite. Now, Junior Colson this year had an 81.7 PFF grade, had 662 defensive snaps, 53 pass rush snaps, 267 run defense snaps, 342 coverage snaps, had 68 tackles, 34 assisted tackles, and only 5 missed tackles, which is very elite. Junior Colson this year also had 14 coverage stops, 22 run stops, 25 receptions on 36 targets, a 69.4 completion percentage, 1 touchdown to 0 interceptions, and 1 forced incompletion. Now, Junior Colson is my number 3 linebacker in this year's draft class, and I have guys like Peyton Wilson and Edgerrin Cooper over him because they're better athletes and they have higher ceilings, but I think Junior Colson could easily be the best linebacker from this year's draft class. So here we are at pick 91, and there's a lot of good players on the board. Tyrone Tracy is a guy from Auburn, a running back from Auburn, that I think could be a really good running back to pair with Josh Jacobs. This guy was a receiver before, switched to running back. He's just very explosive with the ball in his hands, and he's such a good receiving back, has elite hands as a running back. With this pick, though, we could go Mason McCormick. We could go Cooper Beebe. But with this pick, though, I'm going to go Dominic Pooney. He's one of my more favorite tackles in the later rounds. I love his versatility. I think he's a very solid pass blocker. And he's in the measurements the Green Bay Packers like for the tackle or guard position. Now, Dominic Pooney is listed at 6'5", 320 pounds, and he's 22 years old. So he's in the height, the weight that the Packers like at the tackle or guard position. And he's often very young at 22 years old. And as it says right here, real quick, before we get to the... And as it says right here, Pooney improved from 2022 to 2023, and if he continues on his current trajectory, he has the power profile and the size to earn a rotational role as a guard with the starting potential. Now, here are the cons for Dominic Pooney. Poor pad level in 2022, but improved in 2023. Might be a hindrance at guard. Now, here are the cons for Dominic Pooney. Poor pad level in 2022, but improved in 2023. Might be a hindrance at guard. Upright stance after the snap, exposes his chest and makes him easy to manipulate. Top heavy in his weight, but played with a flatter back in 2023. Does not maintain blocks on tape. Now, Dominic Pooney this year had a 72.3 run block grade, had a 90.4 pass block grade, had a 68.9 zone grade, had a 71.8 gap grade, and had an 86.7 true pass set pass block grade. Dominic Pooney this year had an 80.6 PFF grade, played in 12 games, had 745 offensive snaps, had 401 run block snaps, and 342 pass block snaps, allowed 0 sacks, 0 hits, and 8 hurries. Now, the reason I do like Dominic Pooney a lot, even though he is a project player at the tackle or guard position, is because he is very versatile. He did play 848 snaps at the left guard position in 2022, and then in 2023, he played 728 snaps at left tackle. Now, Dominic Pooney gets drafted 32% by Packers fans whenever they make mock drafts. So for this mock draft, we are continuing the trend, and I just like his versatility. I like him as a pass blocker. Yes, he does need to be developed more as a player, but he's just going to be more of a depth and rotational piece on the O-line. So with this pick, we are going Dominic Pooney, the tackle or guard out of Kansas. So here we are at 126, and I think it's a good idea in this mock draft or just this NFL draft to get some more depth on the D line. I think there's a lot of undersized and really fast guys that are good at getting to the quarterback. And I think Mekhi Wingo is one of those guys. Yes, he is undersized. He's 6'1", and he isn't the greatest at stopping the run, but this guy has very fast, violent hands, and he's very good at getting to the quarterback. And he has all the moves in his arsenal to get to the quarterback. Only 21, only 20 years old, very, very young, has a lot of time to develop and definitely grow with this defensive line group that we have right now. Now, Mekhi Wingo is listed at 6'1", 295 pounds, and is only 21 years old. He's very, very young. Yes, he is undersized for the defensive line position, but he's very good at using his hands and is very quick off the line. And as it says right here, Wingo's shorter arms and legs limit his efficiency and versatility. He will likely be limited to between the 2-eye and the 4-eye alignments in the 4-3 scheme, but his quickness and consistent hand placement can lead to some success as a rotational pass rusher. Now, here are the pros and cons for Mekhi Wingo. Quick off the snap. Now, here are the pros and cons for Mekhi Wingo. Quick off the snap, violent push/pull move. Hand speed and placement are effective, helps make up for shorter arms. Low and loaded stance before the snap allows him to fire off the ball with power and leverage. Now, here are the cons for Mekhi Wingo. Shorter strides make for quick steps but less ground covered. Gets moved out of gaps and turned around too easily. Stiff to change direction. Now, Mekhi Wingo this year had a 73.7 pass rush grade, had a 75.0 run defense grade, had a 77.4 true pass rush grade, had a 7.9 pass rush win rate. We'll call that an 8%. And then had a run stop rate of 3.4. Like I said, he isn't the greatest to stop the run. He is fairly undersized and he can be moved left and right pretty easily. But his hand placement, his quick hands, his violent hands, the way he just explodes off the ball, him only being 21 years old, I think it definitely developed in that aspect. Now, Mekhi Wingo had a 77.6 PFF grade this year, only played in 8 games, had 389 defensive snaps, 239 pass rush snaps, 150 run defense snaps, 5 sacks, 2 hits, and 12 hurries. But in 2022, Mekhi Wingo played in 14 games, had 821 defensive snaps, 437 pass rush snaps, 383 run defense snaps, had 4 sacks, 1 hit, and 20 hurries, and 1 batted pass. So as you can see right there, in 2022, he was very effective and very disruptive up front. So at 126, we are going Mekhi Wingo, like I said, and I think it's a very good idea to go out there in this year's draft class, go get defensive line depth. And Mekhi Wingo is very young. He's very quick at getting to the quarterback, very explosive off the line, plays with phenomenal leverage, good hand placement and violent hands. Is a bit undersized and isn't that great at stopping the run right now, but is only 21 years old. Could definitely develop, in this defensive scheme and with our defensive line. So with this pick at 126, we are going Mekhi Wingo, the defensive lineman out of LSU. So I want to show you guys this one play of Mekhi Wingo, and I know I said earlier he's not that great at stopping the run, and that is true. Right now, he's not that great at stopping the run, but when he wants to film on Mekhi Wingo, there is a lot of great flashes of him stopping the run. Watch this play right here. He's number 18. He's going to take on the double team right here, and he has fast hands, violent hands. He's very quick off the line, and he's only 21 years old, so he has a lot of time to develop. Here he has all the intangibles and skill sets you want from a defensive lineman. And just look at that right there. He takes on the double team, splits the double team, and then tackles the running back, Cody Schrager, for about a gain of 1, maybe? Gain of 1 at most. And he doesn't let Cody Schrager get past the line, which is my favorite thing about it. Watch him hold Cody Schrager right here. Pull him back. He pulls Cody Schrager back into him, prevents him from reaching over the goal line for a touchdown. So I want to show you guys this graph real quick and show you where Mekhi Wingo ranks amongst the other defensive tackles in this year's draft class. Brian Murphy at the top right here, Jerzon Newman. But the one statistic I want to look at right now is forced B&C percentage, which is basically the percentage of runs at the defender that didn't go through the design gap. Brian Murphy, 46%, Jerzon Newman, 45%. But if we go all the way to the bottom right here, Mekhi Wingo at a 53%, which is very, very good. He's getting, a higher percentage than guys like Jerzon Newman and Brian Murphy, who are both easily the best defensive tackles in this year's draft class. So here we are at pick 219, and I tried trading up multiple times before I got to pick 219 to get a running back. But with this pick, we are going to get a running back, and that is Amani Bailey, the running back out of TCU. He's around 5'9", 5'10", but this guy is very explosive and dynamic with the ball in his hands. And he just brings a different speed that guys like Josh Jacobs and A.J. Dillon simply don't have in our running back room. Amani Bailey is listed at 5'9", 207 pounds, and 22 years old, so he's fairly young for the running back position and still has time to develop. But like I said, he just brings a different speed to a running back room that guys like Josh Jacobs and A.J. Dillon simply don't have. Amani Bailey this year had an 88.7 rushing grade, had a 78.4 zone grade, had an 89.8 gap grade, had a 117.1 elusive rating, and a 3.68 yards after contact. Amani Bailey this year played in 12 games, had 223 rushing attempts, 1,211 rushing yards, 5.4 yards per attempt, 8 touchdowns, 25 receptions on 25 targets, and 184 receiving yards. Amani Bailey this year had 820 yards after contact, 70 missed tackles forced, and that's definitely one thing I noticed on film. This guy makes the first guy miss most of the time, had 19 carries of 15 plus yards, and a yards per route run of 0.65. So I picked 219. We are going to Monty Bailey. And like I said earlier, he definitely has a different type of speed and explosiveness with the ball in his hands that guys like Josh Jacobs and AJ Dillon simply don't have. Obviously, Josh Jacobs is going to be RB1 this year, and he's a phenomenal running back in the NFL, easily a top 10 running back. But he doesn't have the speed like some other guys in the NFL have. So getting a guy like Amani Bailey who has that speed wouldn't be a bad idea. So with this pick at 219, we are going Amani Bailey, the running back out of TCU. So here we are at 229, and honestly, I just want to get more depth for whatever position that is. Solomon Boyd's an edge from USC who's very quick off the line, very explosive. He could be in play right here. He's a little bit undersized at 6'3", 250 pounds, and is 24 years old. But it wouldn't be a bad idea to get another, edge rusher, especially because guys like Kingsley Nabari coming back for the torn ACL, and then Preston Smith is getting older. But with this pick, I'm going to go Jalen Sundell, and this is a guy the Packers have talked to before. And I think this guy's actually relatively underrated in this year's draft class. His biggest knock is that he played from North Dakota State, but when you watch the film on him, he's fairly dominant, and that's what you want to see from someone playing against lower competition on a week-to-week basis. Now, Jalen Sundell, 6'5", 300 pounds. He's in the height that the Green Bay Packers like. Not the weight, though. He's a little bit undersized in terms of tackle weight that the Green Bay Packers like to target. And he is basically 25 years old, so it's definitely an older prospect at the tackle position. But this is someone that could just come in, be depth, be a rotational piece if guys get hurt, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think he's a fairly good pass blocker as well. Jalen Sundell this year had a 78.0 run block grade, had an 89.2 pass block grade, had a 77.9 zone grade, had a 74 gap grade, had an 89.7 pass set pass block grade. Jalen Sundell this year played in 15 games, had 878 offensive snaps, 471 run block snaps, 406 pass block snaps, allowed 1 sack, 0 hits, and 8 hurries. Now, another reason why I do like Jalen Sundell in the later rounds is because this guy has the versatility for offensive linemen. This year played 865 snaps at left tackle, but in previous years has played center. So at 229, we are going Jalen Sundell, and it's not a bad idea to get more depth on the offensive line. Like I say, every time I draft offensive linemen, guys get banged up, guys get rolled up, guys get hurt. You need people that could come in and play valuable snaps for you whenever need to be, and Jalen Sundell could be one of those guys. So here we are at 245, and with this pick, I'm just going to get more depth at the edge position. Maybe another guy that could come in and be a pass rusher for us, a rotational pass rusher, and that is Eric Watts, the edge out of Kentucky. And this guy, doesn't have the greatest amount of sacks at the collegiate level, but one thing this guy does have is a lot of pressures. Now, Eric Watts is listed at 6'5", 277 pounds, and he's 23 years old, so he's a fairly older prospect. But this guy, like I said, does get a lot of pressures. This year had a 69.9 pass rush grade, had an 80.2 run defense grade, had an 80.4 true pass set pass rush grade, had an 11.4 pass rush win rate, had a 7.4 run stop rate. Eric Watts this year played in 12 games, had 562 defensive snaps, 313 pass rush snaps, 245 run defense snaps, had 2 sacks, 1 hit, and 31 hurries. Like I said, he produces a lot of pressures and hurries, and had 2 batted passes as well. Eric Watts in previous years also had 22 hurries and 17 hurries, so very, very good at causing pressure and being disruptive. Now, Eric Watts gets drafted 26% by Packers fans whenever they make mock drafts, so for this mock draft, we are continuing the trend, and it isn't a bad idea to go out there and get depth at the edge position. Like I said, Kingsley Nabari towards ACL, Preston Smith getting older. It isn't a terrible idea to go out there, get more guys that could come in and compete, and maybe develop over these next year or two when guys like Preston Smith retire, or just simply, get released from the team. So with this pick, we are going Eric Watts, the edge out of Kentucky, and I think this guy has a good amount of pressures at the collegiate level to maybe be a really solid rotational piece as a pass rusher. So here we are with our last pick at 255, and I'm going to go with another safety just to add more depth in that room, and that is Omar Brown, the safety out of Nebraska, and this is someone the Packers have talked to before. He plays most of his snaps at the slot position, but I do think this guy is honestly a very good coverage safety, and I think he's a very versatile safety, a Swiss Army knife because of what he could do in coverage and tackling. Now, Omar Brown is listed at 6'1", 200 pounds, and he's 23 years old. He's in the height and weight you want from the safety position. And this year, Omar Brown had an 84.5 coverage grade, had a 74.3 run defense grade, had a 16.4 missed tackle rate, had a 10.2 forced incompletion rate, had a 7.5 average depth of run tackle. Now, Omar Brown this year had 82.8 PFF grade, played in 12 games, had 665 defensive snaps, had 3 pass rush snaps, 258 run defense snaps, and had 404 coverage snaps, had 49 tackles, 7 assisted tackles, and 11 missed tackles. Omar Brown this year also had 10 coverage stops, 8 run stops, 35 receptions on 59 targets, a 62.7 passer rating allowed, 0 touchdowns to 1 interception, and 6 forced incompletions. And like I said earlier, Omar Brown played most of his snaps out of the slot, and I do think he's a very good coverage safety. He has the height and weight you want from a safety. He's fairly athletic, but I do think he has the versatility at the next level to play in the slot or in the box. So here's what PFF has graded my mock draft. With our first pick at pick 25, we did go Nate Wiggins. And I think Nate Wiggins, although he is undersized in terms of weight, has a really good chance to be the best coverage cornerback from this year's draft class. He's elite athleticism, elite recovery speed, and his technique and man press is very, very good. Although he could get pushed around by bigger, more physical wide receivers, I do think at the next level he'll probably put on more weight. Got to be minus right there for that pickup. I think that's honestly a really good grade. And I think Nate Wiggins could be a really good pickup for this defense. Then at pick 41, we did go Jackson Powers-Johnson. And to not trade up and go get the best center in this year's draft class, I think this is an A+ pick. We did get graded an A-. But Jackson Powers-Johnson is easily the best center in this year's draft class. And we didn't have to trade up or do anything to go get him. He fell right to us at pick 41. So honestly, very, very good pickup. Our next pick was Jaden Hicks. I don't know, a lot of Packers fans really do like this guy. I think he could be a very solid safety force if developed right. I do think his speed in terms of, going to sideline is not that great. But if we just keep the play in front of him and keep him as a box safety, I think he could be very good for this defense. Got an A- right there. Very, very good pickup. Next pickup was Junior Colson, the linebacker out of Michigan. I think Junior Colson is the most instinctive linebacker in this year's draft class. He just has a really good nose to finding the football, and he's always around the football. He's very good in run defense and very good in pass coverage. He isn't as great as an athlete as guys like Peyton Wilson or Adrian Cooper, but I think Junior Colson could honestly be the best linebacker from this year's draft class. I just have guys like Peyton Wilson and Adrian Cooper ranked higher than him because they're more athletic and have higher ceilings. Got to be for that pickup right there. Very, very good pickup. Then at pick 91, we did go Dominic Pooney, and I think this guy is a very good tackle from Kansas. A very, very good pass blocker. Does need to be developed. He is more of a project player at the tackle or guard position. Doesn't have the best hand placement or leverage on a play-to-play basis. But luckily for him, he fell to a team like the Green Bay Packers, which are known for, developing offensive talent on the offensive line. So got to be minus right there. I think Dominic Pooney could be a really good tackle in the NFL if developed right. Then at 126, we did go Mekhi Wingo, and we got a B+ right there. Like I said earlier, I think Mekhi Wingo is very, and I'll say one more time, very underrated in this year's draft class. He doesn't probably have the production like some other guys in this year's draft class in terms of defensive tackles, but this guy is very quick off the line, very explosive, has very good hand usage, very violent and fast hands, and he has a lot of moves in his arsenal. He's only 21. He's only going to get better from here on out, and I think him being a part of this defensive line is a very good pickup. B+ right there, can't complain. Then at 219, we did go Amani Bailey. Got a C+ right there. Like I said earlier, Amani Bailey just brings a different type of speed and dynamicness with the ball in his hands that guys like Josh Jacobs and AJ Dillon don't bring. Obviously, Josh Jacobs is very explosive and dynamic with the ball in his hands, but Amani Bailey is just fast when you watch him on tape, and he makes the first guy miss always. So got a C+ right there. I think Amani Bailey could actually be a really good contributor to this running back room. Then at 229, we did go Jalen Sundown. We got a B+ right there. Like I say all the time whenever I pick Jalen Sundown, I think he's a fairly good tackle, very underrated. His biggest knock is that he came from North Dakota State, and this guy has the versatility to play the center position, guard position, or tackle position at the next level. Could definitely be developed. Is an older prospect, around 24, 25, but got a B+ right there. He's just depth and rotational pieces in case guys get hurt on the O-line. Then at 245, we did go Eric Watts, the edge out of Kentucky. And I don't think it's a terrible idea in this year's draft class to go get more, depth at the pass rusher position. Guys like Preston Smith are getting older. Kingsley Nabarri coming off the torn ACL. It isn't a bad idea. And Eric Watts, at the collegiate level, produced a lot of pressure and hurries on the quarterback. So he could be a very good rotational piece as a pass rusher. Got a C+ right there. Very, very good pickup. Then with our last pick in this mock draft, we did go Omar Brown, and we got a B+ right there. Omar Brown is a very versatile safety. He's a Swiss Army knife. He could cover very well. He could tackle very well. He could play in the slot, obviously back deep because he's a safety, and also in the box. He is 6'1", 200 pounds. He is 23 years old, but this is a guy the Packers have talked to before, and he's just another guy that could come in, compete at the safety position, and give us more depth if we need it. Now, the overall grade for this mock draft was a B, and I think this is a very solid draft. We're in the top 72% of Packers mock drafts. Overall draft grade a B. I think this is a very solid draft class right here. I think the best two picks easily are best three are Nate Wiggins, Jackson Powers-Johnson, and Jaden Hicks, even Junior Colson. I think all four of these guys right here actually give our defense a huge bolstering, impact, and could maybe, get us over that hump, and we could finally be Super Bowl winners and hold that Lombardi trophy in New Orleans next year. Let me know what you guys think about this mock draft, who you guys would have drafted, who you guys wouldn't have drafted. It's been your boy Sports Culture. I'm out.